Hello and welcome to Creator Studio Tutorial Part 1. My name is Rambo Kim, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you Creator Studio. So if you're an absolute beginner, you don't even know what Creator Studio is, I will teach you how to get up and running in no time. So the first thing you want to do after you load AimLab is go to Custom, and then go to Creator Studio. And then here we have two options. We could create a map from new, so it'll be an empty slate, or we can create one from a template. So if we click template, we have all these various gray box maps for Valorant and Rainbow Six, Counter-Strike, and AimLab templates as well. So if you want these pre-made maps already, you can go ahead and do that. But we're gonna go ahead and just create a new one from scratch. So after we click new, we can go ahead and name our map here. So we'll just do it Creator Studio Tutorial. And we can go ahead and choose the size of the map. So we'll go ahead and leave it on default 250 by 250. And then for the terrain type, we have all these different options like grass or dirt or sand. We're going to go ahead and just use this grid layout here. So after we hit create level, it's going to look like this. And the first thing I want to do is just go over all the basic controls. So how to move around in the map, how to move objects, copy them, and all that kind of stuff. So what I'll go ahead and do now is enable my mouse and keyboard input. And I'll also flash up here on the screen all the different keys and bindings. So if you want, you can always come back to this screen, or you can even take a snapshot and copy and paste it into Paint. That way you can load that up on your second monitor, so you'll always know a reference of what these shortcut keys do. So the first thing, starting from the top, is if we want to rotate our camera, what we want to do is hold down mouse 2. And then we can go ahead and just look around. And then if we hit WASD, we can float around as well. Now, if we let go of mouse 2, we don't have an option to move around. So if you want to look around or move around, hold down mouse 2. If you want to zoom your camera, go ahead and scroll your mouse wheel up and down. If you want to undo an action, let's say I'm going to go ahead and just left click and drag this character start spawn. And I'm going to move this character to the right here, dragging the handle. And then if I hit Control Z, it's going to undo that, just like you would do in normal, whatever Windows or software. If I want to redo that, I'll hit Control Y. And then if we want to move this character around, we can drag it by hitting this green box or holding down left mouse 1 on this green box. And that'll allow us to move in any of these axes here on the X and Y. If we want to float around and we just want to get this blue axis here, we can just drag it in this direction, red direction, and then up and down with the green. So we'll go ahead and drop it back to the default position. So if we go over here on the top right in the object inspector, if we hit 0, 0, 0, that's the XYZ coordinates, then it'll drop the character exactly in that position. If we want to deselect an object, all we have to do is simply left click in an empty space somewhere. All right, some very important key bindings that you'll need to know are W, E, R. And what we're gonna do is go ahead and just click this box up here, and that'll bring us our object library. So these are all the different items that we can put into the map. So we'll get into that here in a little bit more details, but let's go ahead and click shape, stationary, and then left click the cube. And that'll load the cube up in here, which then I can left click and drag anywhere I want on the map here. So if I drag it on this player, you could see it's smart attaching or smart moving. But let's go ahead and just drop it right here in front of the player and navigate a little bit so we can see it better. So if we click it, if we left click it, if we flip through the keys W, E, R, it's going to allow us to manipulate this object. So if we hit W, we can move it up and down, left and right. If we hit E, we can rotate it by dragging any one of these axes individually. And then we can scale it by hitting R. So if we hit R, again, same concept, you just drag the axis. So the rotation's all weird, so let's go ahead and zero that back down to 0. And there we go. Now I've got this cube in here. And now let's say I want to duplicate this cube. If we hit Control D, as in David, or Control D as in duplicate, if we Control D, now we have another object. So we can move this around, and let's say, let's just zero these out. Let's just say we get this to 0, 0, 0, 0, and then it's 0, 0, 0, So we've got two objects on this player, right? So let's go and just drag it out. And now if we want to make these longer, we can hit control, left click. Now both these boxes are selected. And then if we hit R, now we can scale these both at the same time. And then if we want, we can make a little hallway like this. Now I've got a hallway. So let's say if we want to make a box. So I'll click this box here. I'll control D as in duplicate. And now let's just drag it out over here, just get in front of us. And some other important key bindings to know are the rotation tools. So if we hit, we have 3 axes, right? X, Y, and Z. And we can snap rotate any of our objects that we want. So if we hit G, as in gold, it'll rotate it like that. And if we want to rotate it the other way, on the same axis, on the x-axis, we can do that. So that's G and H. Now we have U and J, umbrella and jello. So we can rotate here on the y-axis, and you can see they're perfectly rotating 90 degrees. And then if we want to rotate on the z-axis, we hit K, as in kangaroo, and L as in Lima. Then we can instantly rotate and perfectly snap these, any object that we want, 90 degrees. So then let's see if we just make a little box here like this. We'll go ahead and scale it down a little bit. And then we'll hit Control D and then just move this out. Now I've got a box. And at any time you can also, if you don't want to use shortcut key bindings, which I highly recommend you get used to, they're so much faster, you can always access them down here. And if you just hover over these tooltips, you can do the same things as these shortcut key bindings. So if you want to rotate, move, scale, duplicate, all of them are down here, as well as deleting an object. So if I wanted to delete that object, I can hit delete. But let's go ahead and undo that. And you can also hit the delete key on your keyboard like that. And then also down here, you can focus or view on a selection. So let's say I want to focus on this character. I'm like way over here. I can hit F and it focuses directly on that. Or if I want to focus on this object and so forth. So that's F as in focus. A tip here when selecting objects. So let's say I put this sphere here and let's put 2 spheres. So we'll go ahead and just duplicate that and move this up. And let's say I'm trying to select this, let's tuck this player here. And let's say I'm trying to select this ball, but I can't because this player's in the way. One thing you can do is, well, one, you can get a better angle. So like this, right? Holding mouse 2 and flying around so you get a good a view of it. You can also left click and drag. And then when I get like 50% of that sphere selected, then it'll select that sphere. Right, so this is a good tip to have, you know, if you have a bunch of things on the screen and you're just having trouble difficulty selecting something like this, right? I can go over here and select that sphere, and then I don't have to worry about selecting this object there. All right, now let's take a look at our tabs here in the top right-hand corner. You can flip through all 4 of these tabs by hitting 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can easily switch through any of these. So number 1 is the object library. So these are all the objects that we can put in the map. So let's say we want a wall that's facility-like, and you know, this looks cool. So we can go ahead and just drag this in here and scale it out. And now we've got this, you know, cool-looking little wall here. And what I would recommend is just go ahead and just literally dragging all these objects in here. It'll probably take anywhere from like 20 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. There's a lot of objects and cool things you can add into the map, just so you have a reference of what they look like. And it's really cool just to see everything lined up and see all the kind of various objects that you have to work with. So they're all labeled correctly. So if I want stairs, you know, I can do ramps and stairs, make them bigger or smaller. And again, you can rotate them as well with those quick rotation keys. Say if I want this a little bit smaller, I can tuck it in. Now I've got like these stairway leading to this little platform here that I can jump on. There's a search function as well. So you can type in, maybe I want a house. So I type in house. Now I've got all these various different houses I can place on the map. Tons of different options, you know, whatever you want. It's available. So just to complete kind of what else is in the object library, the sign text under here, under decorative, is really nice. So you can go ahead and just drag this over. Say, you know, whatever, elephant room. So we can type in elephant room and we can scale this to size if we want. And we can go ahead and just drop it in this room. And now if we go under, if we type in elephant, there's actually an elephant. So there's all kinds of animals and trees and all kinds of things to decorate your maps. So moving on to the second tab here is the object inspector, which we talked about earlier. So this is where you can dial in the numbers and manipulate some of these objects. So again, if I wanted to place this object at 25, like that, and I wanted this object to also line up with that, if I hit 25 and move this out of the way, now these objects are close. Some of the home points on these objects are not right. So if I just drag this over a little bit, now we're on the same pixel points or on the same grid. And then rotation and scale. So yeah, we talked about that. And then here, the third tab is terrain settings. So what you'll see is when you click terrain, now we've got this like paintbrush circle thing that we can, we have on our cursor. So if we make the size bigger, smaller, we could see it changing in real time. And then we can change the amount. So what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and click left click and just hold it down. So I haven't done anything but just decrease the size a little bit. And if we hit left 1, where my mouse cursor is, now we can see the terrain moving up. So we've created this little hill. If I wanted to extend that out a little bit, I can do that. You could see the size of how much it's raising matches my blue circle. So if I wanted to make a huge mountain over here or a hill, I can do that. And just hold left click and kind of just move it around. Now we can also affect how fast or how much it raises. So if I increase the amount there, I can hit left 1. You could see as soon as I even tap left 1, now it's raised big time. So if I decrease the size a little bit, we can make like a little peak over here. And if I just, spam left 1, we can create some kind of like mountain range like this. Now, if we want to lower it, simply just click lower, left click. And now if we, so that's, sometimes there's a bug like that. You have to click lower and then click raise. So, so if I left click raise, it raises. If I click lower, now it's working. So if it doesn't work, sometimes just re-click it. Now we can lower all of these mountains if we want back to flat, or we can kind of just shape it. So by left clicking and changing the size, we can really manipulate this landscape. Now there's different brush types as well, as we can see. So we have the basic circle here. If we want to do some kind of like weird fractal mountain, let's increase the size and then click raise. We click left 1, now we've got like these spiky thingies that matches the brush. And then here, we've got these different options. We've got this kind of gradient. So now we can make like little steps or plateaus like this. And then this one is a little bit different. You could see the shadow, right? The gradient of the colors. So a lot of different options to mess with the terrain. The fourth tab are the level settings. So this is where you'll have a lot of control over like your skybox, your player movement, the scoring, how long the round time is, and stuff like that. So starting from the top, if we click render icon, we take a snapshot of what we're looking at on our screen. And now this render icon is what you use as the preview image. So when people see your task, or when you're loading it in your content library, like you're looking through all the various tasks, this image is what is shown by default. So if we wanted to make it something closer, we can do that. Now the scoring options, we can adjust how many points you get when you kill a target. So on hit default score when we kill a target, and then on hit is if like a target takes 5 hits to kill, then it's gonna register 5 hits. If you miss, we can deduct points here. So if you miss a shot, you don't hit any target. And then if we're using like a headshot capsule, which I'll go into in another video, is you can reward more points by hitting headshots or leg shots. The skybox, we can change the color of the sky and what it looks like. So there's all these different options. The one I like, skybox golden, is really cool. It has this cool like Mars looking effect. We can do like a forest. So, you have this background of forest, all these different options. That one's really cool. Greenwash mountains. So that really matches our theme here with the mountains. Right below skybox is weapon. So we can change which weapon the player starts with. So all these default weapons. And then also you can import custom weapons as well. So in AimLab, we have an option where you can create your own custom weapons. You can revise any of the ones that are in there. So if I wanted to make this deagle shoot like an automatic, I can do that. Or if I want to decrease, it can only shoot 1 bullet per second. We have all those options. So here are all these like custom weapons I made depending on what I want to teach or train or what's the concept of the task. So player can attack. So you have an option to allow the player to attack or not. We're going to go to player movement and it's on default set to none. So we'll just select any of these preset movement speeds that we have available. So we'll just click Valorant and just finishing off our level settings over here. We can set the task length. So we could set it to time. So if we want it to 60 seconds or 1 minute, we can set it there. If we want 2 minutes, we do 120 seconds. We can have the task end by kills. So say if you get 100 kills or 50 kills or whatever it is, it ends by that amount, or you could just do endless so it just lasts forever. Light intensity, that allows us to change the brightness of the map. So you could see nighttime is at like 0. And then if I go to max, it's really, really bright. So let's go ahead and just put it to 0 here for a sec, because I'm going to show you something. Actually, let's put it back to 50 and show you what these light directions are. So light direction is like, where's the sun in the sky? Is it like noon? Is it at 7 p.m.? Is it in the morning? And we can change that by here. So if we hit 20, you can see the shadow here, right? The shadow. So that means the sun is coming a little bit down like this way. So if we set it to 10, or if we set it to 70, you can see the shadows changing in real time. We could even do negative if we want. But let's go ahead and set this to 50. And then if we set this to 50, it's going to manipulate that sun position again. So if you want the sun directly above you, like 100% just like straight up, you can set it to 90 and then 90 and then 180. So now the sun is directly above us. You can see that by the shadow. Okay. Now going back here, I'm going to set this back to like 20, 20, and 20. So it's a little bit dark here. It's either like sunrise or, sundown. And some cool things I want to show you is in the object library. So you can go up in here, left click it or hit 1. And if you go to lights, now I have all these different options for light sources. So some ones I really like to use are spotlight and point light. So if you left click it and then drag this over, now we can see in real time what that looks like. So say if I wanted to shine some light on this mountain or put it on this elephant, I can do that. So I can rotate it over and drag it. Now we could see that. So now we can manipulate the light intensity, so how strong it is. So if we put it to 10, it's going to be super bright. If we do it low, obviously it's going to be low. Light angle, so we can change the width of it or the funnel. So as you could see, I set the light angle to, if I set it to 10, it's just going to be like right on its foot. If I want to get all the elephant, if I do 40, now I've got it perfectly in the spotlight. We can also change the range. So right now it's at 40. You can see some of the light going through, but I don't want it going through. So I'll set that to 20. And now we could see it's not reaching far back there, but it's getting enough of the elephant. So we can move that also like this, and get it just right. Now, if we want to change the color, we could do that. If we want to put like some kind of like pink hue on it, like that, you can see now it's pink. So how I'm doing that is I'm left clicking in this box and we have a few different options of different color modes, RGB, hex, or HCV, HSV. So you can click through these and you can see kind of visually, where you want this color to look like. So if we wanted it like really yellow, we can click yellow like that. And yeah, so you can just left click, drag through, and then you can also copy the codes. So let's say I do it, it doesn't matter, blue, like super blue or pink. Now we can copy this color code here. If I just left click, if I left click here, now I can copy. And now the intensity, let's just set it to 50 just so we can see it better. So this color, sorry, what I should have mentioned earlier is this color. If I left click, it'll change the actual like what the object looks like, this color, but not the light color. So light color, manipulate the light color. So now we have green. And let's say I duplicate this light and then just move it over here. And if this color is different, like something like white, we can left click this light color and then copy this code, whether it's RGB, hex, or HSV, and we can copy it into this other light so they match. So the same concept of adjusting the colors of the lights also apply to the color of objects. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this cube here. So I'll hit Control D, I'll move this object. So what I'm gonna do is left click color. Now I can change the color of it. And yeah, let's just make it red. There we go. Now we have a red box and a blue box. All right, now finishing up with some of the other key objects that I commonly use that I would recommend that you're probably gonna be using as well are the inside shapes. You go to shapes, you go to stationary, and then you go to blocking cube. So blocking cube, what that does is it blocks, you have the option to block players or the bots or weapon fires or even objects. So if I put this blocking cube here and then I stretch it out, and now I have player selected. So if I start the map, I'm not going to be able to move past this. So let's just go ahead and set this here and hit play. So we'll go ahead and check out what the lights look like that we just placed and then the blocking cube. So right here in front of me, there's that small blocking cube. So if I hit W, I'm blocked. I can't move, but then if I just move to the side, now I can. So here's what our light looks like, our green light on our elephant room text, and then our mountain and our sky here with our background, okay? And we're moving with the Valorant movement speed profile as well. You can see some of these like walls and pre-made objects are super cool looking. There's textures on them. And again, I would highly recommend just going through all the object library and just placing all of them down just so you know what you're working with and you have all these different options. All right, well, that does it for part 1 of the Creator Studio tutorial. Hopefully I did a good enough job to give you some insight and teach you how you can get up and running and use this powerful tool to start creating your own levels and design whatever you have in your amazing mind. Stick around for part 2 of our Creator Studio tutorial, where I'll be going over some of the more advanced features and options like the target spawners. So how you want the targets to spawn, how many, and which areas of the map or the tasks, and then as well as adjusting the target behavior. So like the size and how you want them to move and so forth. So thanks for watching, and give the video a thumbs up if it was helpful.